Recent testimony of George Levant during the Bryant trial is a stark reminder that New Jersey Democrats have little or no respect for the taxpayers and think that whatever they do is okay, as long as they don't get caught. It's also a reminder that John Corzine, from the moment he was sworn in, has preached for reform and accountability, but has not once shown the courage or determination to stand up for those principles by standing up to his own party. Now, two of the Democrats complicit in this ATM scheme want voters to send them to Washington. According to the records, Linda Stender and John Adler both stepped up to the ATM machine and dispensed hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars to help their pals and themselves. John Adler was also a familiar face at the taxpayers' bank. In 2005, he stepped to the window at least 5 times and directed the funds sent, among other places, to Cherry Hill, where his wife is employed as a town council member. If they're siphoning taxpayer money off to fund their employers' coffers, is not just like what Wayne Bryant did. Adler and Stender should tell us why immediately. When he was asked to come clean about his involvement, John Adler lied. He told the Philadelphia Inquirer that any suggestion he was involved was, quote, bizarre and erroneous. Yesterday, he continued to avoid the truth when he said that he had, quote, no influence over the fund. Well, the documents tell a very different story. Letters from 2 mayors to State Treasurer John McCormick specifically note that John Adler was responsible for directing these grants. A 3rd letter to McCormick was faxed only to Senator Adler's legislative office, which indicates that Adler himself was responsible for transmitting the information to the treasurer. The documents don't lie, Senator Adler. You've been caught with your hand in the cookie jar, and it's time for you to come clean and detail what you took and where you sent it. It's also time for you to disclose the financial connections you, your law firm, and your family have to the entities you've provided with Christmas tree grants during your 16 years in Trenton, or that you've now chosen to receive monies from this slush fund during its 2-year existence.
Well, folks, welcome to John Adler's Trenton. It's a culture of corruption that he has taken money and given to folks as friends. I was just appalled. I'm not a creature of Trenton here, as you know. I'm a small town mayor. When I was looking at the news, the Star Ledger on this Wayne Bryant corruption trial, the first thing I asked, there's a slush fund? What's that all about? And is John Adler involved? So we challenged Senator Adler, are you involved in this slush fund? He told me yesterday at an event I was at and to the Philadelphia Inquirer, he knew nothing about it, nothing at all. Then he changed that story a couple hours later and said, well, I knew about it, but it was good stuff, don't worry about it. Look, now you wonder why taxes are so high in this state and why average New Jerseyans are under the gun on taxes is because we put money in the pockets of legislatures to dole it out to their friends. That's just plain wrong, folks. I don't know what laws were broken. All the lawyers and the experts will figure that out, but there sure should be an investigation involved in this. So again, what I cannot tolerate, first he denies it and lies about it, and then changes the story. So how do you know what's the truth out of John Adler? Said he's a Harvard attorney. He touts himself being a Harvard attorney. He's the chairman of the State Judiciary Committee, for God's sakes. He should know what the law is and know what's better, instead of invoking in practices such as this. So if you can't get New Jersey right, folks, there's no way he's going to have any credibility to go down to Washington. 43 tax increases since 2002. This state ranks number 49th in business friendly, meaning we're the 2nd worst in the nation for job growth. Well, now we know where all the taxpayer money is. It's in John Adler's pocket to dole it out to his friends. No wonder our taxes are so high. Folks, this is an outrage, and there's no credibility whatsoever that John Adler should go down to Washington and bring the corrupt Trenton culture down to Washington to make things even worse down there.
John Adler and Linda Stender should have known that, and they should have stood up and said, stop, this is wrong. But they didn't. Instead, they put their hands in the taxpayer's pocket and they grabbed as much as they could. This isn't the kind of change that people want. This isn't the kind of honesty, accountability, and transparency that's needed in Trenton and Washington. John Adler and Linda Stender will not change Washington. They'll only bring their backroom deals, their me-first attitude, and their disdain for the taxpayers to the U.S. Capitol and make a bad situation worse.